you've been following Indiana athletics at all this season, you know that women's sports are thriving, especially softball and women's basketball. You just talked about Shonda Stanton's team's 18-game win streak, tied for the longest in program history with the team from 1983 who just happened to go to the College World Series. Now, you may be wondering what the connection is to women's basketball. Well, Terry Morin's crew right down the road made their own history this year, taking the second ever regular season Big Ten title alongside the team also from 1983. So a neat little connection between the two teams. The Hoosiers here today looking to make their own history, get their own name in the record books. They only have to hang on a little bit longer to do so. Well, Max, you said it. You talked about the wind, and it's not blowing super hard right now. Earlier, it was blowing all in my face. It's starting to now. So here's proof that the weather is not great. It feels about like 32 degrees. The wind is blowing at about 20 miles an hour, and it's not expected to let up. We've already seen some balls affected by the wind, and it's not going to stop, and my hair's not going to stop moving either. Indiana women's basketball is playing the best basketball the program has ever seen, and last night was no exception. The number 6 ranked Hoosiers upset number 2 Ohio State 78-65 at Assembly Hall, but was it really an upset? It didn't feel like it. A scrappy start to the game set up a second half that seemed to be anyone's game. Indiana trailed 36-32, and only Mackenzie Holmes really seemed comfortable with the ball. Luckily, whatever Terry Morin said in that locker room worked, and the second half was all Hoosiers. In front of a record 10,455 fans, they flat out dominated. Led by Yarden Garzone hitting threes left and right, Indiana outscored the Buckeyes 27-6 in the third quarter and coasted to victory. And Kylie, Indiana men's basketball is on a hot streak right now. 8 wins in their last 9 games. The Hoosiers came in at 14 on this week's AP poll after 2 big wins over Rutgers and Michigan. And it feels like we're really starting to see the Indiana team that a lot of people were hoping for at the beginning of the season. The three-point shooting is all over the place. And so that, like you said, I think it's justified to definitely be skeptical, but he had a good game against Rutgers. He had another good game against Michigan, which we can get into now, because he, while not necessarily producing as much on the offensive end, because nobody did except for Trace Jackson-Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino, which we can also touch on, but he was a very strong presence on defense, especially in those last 5 minutes, where it was Miller Kopp and Trey Galloway were the two that really came on strong against a very intense Michigan offense, very big team, to stop them from scoring at all and let Indiana get away with a very, very close win, which if it had been a loss would not have been a good one. See, when you said the Padres and Xander Bogaerts, I put my head in my hands because I have to go with the Red Sox because they lost Xander Bogaerts, and he's the cornerstone.
There is a Red Sox hat up there.
That is mine. I will say that. He's a cornerstone of the team. Losing him, you lose a shortstop who's the captain of the team, officially or unofficially, and it lost. A lot of the fans lost faith in the ownership because there's no direction for this team anymore going into this season.
With the head coach of Indiana, Shonda Stanton.
Thanks, Max. Coach, your team was yelling 19. You just set a program record. You made history. What are your initial feelings right now?
Well, I'm pleased for them. And, what we got to realize is Team 50 is something special, but you want to be special based on your actions, not just because it's Team 50.
It was a bit of a strange game with the delay yesterday and the wind and the weather. How was your team able to keep composure and battle through the conditions?
Well, we showed them Rocky, the fight, but we clips from our game last year. We put up 17 runs last year. We showed those clips, and then we showed the Rocky fight, about 5-minute clips. So we knew it was going to be a fight, right?
A 2.53 ERA on the season. You'll see his first pitch in there. Comes for a strike against Bobby Whalen, and that had a lot of spin to it. And you're definitely right that this is going to be something that Indiana's going to have to adjust to. That pitch coming in at 75 miles an hour. They haven't seen many pitches even below 80, it feels like, today. Pitch on the outside edge for a ball. So a 1-2 count to Whalen. 2 runners on, 1 out. For the Hoosiers, that's Ceruto at second and Glasser at first. The wind is blowing out towards left field. That's fouled out into the stands along the right field line. Don't think anybody was able to catch that one either.
Henderson's made perfectly for this kind of situation because he's got a good sort of sinking action on his fastball that can really induce ground balls, and they're really looking for a double play here.
Well, no double play here. Whalen lines one in. It drops in center. Rounding third is Ceruto. He's going as fast as he can, and he'll be in standing to tie the game. Whalen with a shot out to center field brings Ceruto around. We're all knotted up at 1 here in the bottom of the 7th.
Just another nice piece of hitting there from Whalen. Wasn't doing too much with it, just slice it right up the middle. And now for Indiana, the key is, can they turn this from 1 run into a bigger inning? Because at this point, we've seen how good pitching has been on both sides.
Got to take advantage when you can. So runners still on first and second, still with 1 out. Now for Devin Taylor, who watches the first pitch come in for a ball. Taylor with a walk and a single in his most recent at-bats. He watches the second pitch come in a little bit inside for ball number 2. Righty on lefty. Taylor's got a little bit more of a unique vantage point, it seems like, of Henderson's pitches. He fouls that one back for strike number 1, so 2-1. We've got Whalen and Glasser now at first and second respectively, so a decent amount of speed from both guys. Taylor thinks about it, but watches it come in, and it's ball number 3. So a hitter's count. And Taylor with a swing and a miss for strike number 2, so a full count now. So 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. 2 runners on. Devin Taylor, the freshman, at the plate. He last walked in the 6th inning. Henderson looks back, pitches in, and it's a liner down the first base line, picked up by the first baseman, and he runs over to get the 1 out.
I've always told myself, if I can hoop, I can hoop. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing on my head.
That's the determined and motivated attitude Keandra Brown brings to every part of her life, whether it's on or off the basketball court. And the source of that attitude? Her religion.
I started wearing my hijab my sophomore year, so people will be like, oh yeah, she converted now. Like I was Muslim like a whole year before that.
Now, over a year into wearing her hijab, Brown is even more in touch with herself and what she's capable of.
It was a really big turning point in my life because, like I said, like growing up, I had really bad like body image like issues. Like, am I too fat? Am I too thin? Am I curvy enough? Do I have this looking okay? Does that looking okay? What clothes am I wearing? All of these things. So hijab was freeing for me from this societal like beauty standards, from societal beauty standards. Hijab freed me from societal beauty standards, 110%.
And now that she's become more comfortable with herself, Brown is using her position as an athlete to help inspire others in Bloomington's Muslim community, specifically women and young girls. She started her own student organization at Indiana University and frequently speaks at the local mosque.
I love it. I love speaking my religion. I talk at the local mosque all the time. I give talks about what it's like to be an athlete. I encourage people, especially Muslim girls, to join sports and to be involved with it. I don't say you have to go and, be in the WNBA, but I'm saying, like, just go out and play. Like, there's ways that you can still dress modestly and play basketball.
Brown perfectly represents the idea that Muslim women can play sports. And in a community where hijabi athletes are few and far between, she takes pride in the fact that she can be an inspiration for young girls, whether she's on the court at Assembly Hall or not.
I'm realizing that these little girls that come up to me in the mosque that are like, I want to be basketball just like you. They have like a hijab on and they have like a basketball and they're so excited because they're like, oh my gosh, like, look, I can be like Keandra, da da da. So having that, being able to inspire like that has changed my perspective on basketball to take it even more seriously than I had before, to saying, okay, like, this is my why.
With her why in mind, Brown continually works to make the most out of every situation and be the best version of herself she can be, for herself and everyone around her. For IU Sports Media, I'm Amanda Foster.